Welcome to our regular segment on Case of the Week. This week's case relates to IRS limits for contributions, compensation, and deferrals. As a reminder, these are real-life cases drawn from calls to our consultants on the resource desk from financial professionals all over the country. This week's case came to us from a financial advisor in Illinois, and he asked, how do the IRS contribution and other limits apply to non-calendar year plans? It's fairly straightforward to apply the IRS retirement plan limits to calendar year plans, but the analysis is trickier when dealing with non-calendar year plans. The following explains how to determine the 402G, 415, and annual compensation limits for these plans to ensure that no limit has been exceeded. Under Code Section 402G, the IRS limits how much a participant can defer into a plan. This limit is always applied on a calendar year basis, regardless of whether the plan operates on a calendar year or non-calendar year basis. This means that a participant in a non-calendar year plan will have two 402G limits to consider during a single plan year, i.e., the limits for the calendar year in which the plan year starts and the limits for the calendar year in which the plan year ends. The Code Section 415 contribution limit is the maximum amount that a participant can receive in a limitation year from all sources, i.e., deferrals, employer contributions, and after-tax non-Roth contributions. For most defined contribution plans, the limitation year is the plan year, but a different 12-month period can be used. If the limitation year is not defined by a plan, then the calendar year must be used. In determining what 415 contribution limit to use for a non-calendar year plan, it is the 415 limit for the calendar year in which the plan ends. A non-calendar year plan also affects the annual compensation limit for participants. Unlike the 415 limits, the annual compensation limit for a non-calendar year plan is based on the limit in effect for the calendar year in which the plan year begins. So let's put all of this together in an example. Sammy Saver, who is under age 50, receives $400,000 in compensation and participates in her employer's 401k plan. The plan has a plan year that runs from July 1st to June 30th. The plan sponsor is trying to determine Sammy's annual compensation, 402G, and 415 limits for 2024, but is having a hard time because everything he finds refers to the calendar year plan limits. Luckily, he found this case of the week and he knows what to do. First, the plan sponsor recognizes that the maximum amount of compensation that can be used for deferrals and matching contributions is $330,000 because that was the limit for 2023, the year in which the plan began. Second, the plan sponsor knows that the 415 limit that applies is $69,000 because that was the 415 limit for the calendar year in which the 2024 plan ended. Next, the plan sponsor tackles the 402G limits. Sammy's deferrals involve two different 402G limits, specifically the limits for July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, and the limits for January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. The plan sponsor must keep track of the amount of deferrals that Sammy previously made for the January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023 time period to ensure that she does not exceed the 402G limit for the calendar year. So let's assume that Sammy deferred $10,000 from January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. This means that she could only defer $12,500 for the period from July 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, without violating the 2023 402G limit. However, she could defer up to $23,000 for the period of January 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2024, assuming that she chose to max out her deferrals in the beginning portion of the plan year. This means that the total deferrals for the 2024 non-calendar plan year would be $35,500, but that's okay because no 402G limit for a calendar year was exceeded. If Sammy does defer a total of $35,500 for the 2024 plan year, as described previously, then the employer matching contribution cannot exceed $33,500 without exceeding the $69,000 415 limit that was in place for 2024. While the IRS retirement plan limits are easier to apply to calendar year plans, applying them to non-calendar year plans is made easier if you remember these rules and take the analysis step by step. The key is that plan sponsors have procedures in place to ensure the 402G and other limits are properly tracked. As a financial advisor who works with plans and plan sponsors, you can play a pivotal role in helping them with cases such as this. If you are looking for a more in-depth written version of this case, you can find it on our website, retirementlc.com.